18 Can-Am Maverick X3 DS. One of the areas that I found that I don't like about the design of this vehicle is when you get to the back, especially if you ride out where there's like river rock and rock that can be kicked up by the tires. Here's the axle. You can see where it's just been like shot peened with rock. And then you can also get rocks down inside here, and there's a few people that have shown on YouTube where there's rocks that have wedged in here so bad that it's actually ripped the inside of the wheel and gave them a flat. If you look at the design, the way this swing arm is, any rocks that can make it down in here, there's a plate here, they can just bounce. They get deflected straight into the brake caliper area in the inner wheel. There's an aftermarket mud flap that you can buy for these, and I bought it and looked at it and returned it. And the reason why I did is it bolts to the swing arm, this trailing arm here, and the flap is on the outside of the arm. There's nothing on the inside. All this rock damage that's back here is from the inside. In fact, on this clutch cover, hope I'm holding the phone good, these fins right here on the bottom side, a lot of them are broken off because rocks got flung up and smacked them. So what I've done, they went with a couple stage, and I don't call them mud flaps because out here in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's not a lot of mud, but there's a crap load of rocks. So one of the first things that I did is I built a custom just plate here that screws into the lower frame and then pop rivets, and then this is just some rubber material that I bought, and it's like the first stage of a flap. I had these a little bit longer originally, and the material was a little bit weaker, and they lasted like 5 minutes. They just ripped, the rubber just ripped. So I went ahead and shortened these ones up, and when you're driving, they'll deflect from the air, and it just causes the rocks to be kicked down a little bit. The second stage that I did is, like I said, the ones that I bought, I'm not going to name the manufacturer, they added quite a bit of weight, unsprung weight. So I came up with this design. This is all fabricated out of aluminum, just a piece of angle aluminum going across here, and then a rectangular tube on the back side right in here. And there's one bolt that goes across that holds it. That's all that holds it in. And then I have bolts across the top with a backing plate. And then this rubber is a piece of rubber I bought off Amazon that's made for resoling shoes. I figured it's pliable and should be fairly durable as far as tearing or getting cuts on it. The other thing that I did is I put this metal plate back here as a stiffener. Now when I installed that plate, it was perfectly flat. The amount of rocks that have hit this thing, you can actually see where it's reshaped it. The way I have this rubber is it's cut out for the swing arm, and it wraps to the other side here. And so you can see that this will slide down. So when you're hooking butt driving, the rock, this will stop it from completely deflecting, and it just comes up short of the tire. It's not that big of a deal either, because if you're going forward at speed, the front of this tire, the leading edge of it is going to be driving down. So even if the flap came in contact with it, all it's going to do is just rub down it. The other thing that I did, it's a little bit harder to see, is on either side there's this down tube, and you can't get the inner piece of the flap all the way over because the swing arm moves. And so if you go in close enough to close off this inner area to protect the back axles and the drag links or the control arms that go across, you would end up smacking these covers and other components within the engine, i.e. the airbox and stuff. So what I did, sorry if the video sucks, is I went ahead and fabricated another small piece that is aluminum, and then I used rivet nuts on the inside of the tube And then I took some other aluminum tube and cut it in thirds so it's a curved mount. And so there's 2 bolts that bolt into this lower frame rail. And so this stays with the frame and this moves with suspension. So on the back side, you can see where the 2 halves, you can't call them halves, but the 2 sides create a barrier all the way across. There's a little bit of a gap there, but some rocks are going to get through always. This greatly has reduced the number of rocks. In fact, this lower suspension link, sorry about the video guys, this is off the rock crawlers. The stock ones only have a bend. The original RSs and DSs just have a bend here for clearance. The rock crawler ones, the RC models, have bends at both ends, so you can just buy this tube and swap it out, and it gives you a little bit more clearance. So this is a new tube, and since I've been driving on it, there's a couple chips in it, but not a lot of chips. Of course, the other side looks just like this side. Light might be a little bit better on this side. Same thing with this. That little piece used to be perfectly flat. The impacts has caused it to kind of morph around. Swing arm. Get a little bit of rock through here. You can see this is all peened up here, and then the rocks go back up in here. So thought you guys might be interested to see the design I came up with. It adds minimal weight to the vehicle, and it seems to do a really good job of keeping the rocks out of your rear wheels, hammering your CV cover, and then also the trailing arms or trailing links, and then the axles. So it seems to be working so good, pretty good so far, and it's holding up. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, like any design items that you're more interested in seeing close up on, drop me a note. Have a good one, guys. Bye.